The occupied West Bank has been under siege. Israel has approved sweeping measures expanding its control over the territory in a move widely considered a violation of international law. The Israeli military has increased its crackdown, targeting every source of Palestinian livelihood, destroying water resources, attacking agriculture, demolishing homes, and in the process, displacing tens of thousands of families. Some of the most consequential steps include allowing direct purchase of Palestinian land by Israeli settlers and allowing the Israeli government to sell lands that belong to Palestinians. It will also expand Israeli enforcement and oversight in areas that fall under the control of the Palestinian Authority. It's all part of a wider campaign against Palestinians that's significantly increased since the war on Gaza. Since October 2023, Israeli forces and settlers have killed more than 1,100 Palestinians in the occupied West Bank, and thousands have been forcibly detained. International condemnation is mounting. Both Western and regional countries have slammed Israel's decision as, quote, illegal. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has described the steps as dangerous, illegal, and equal to de facto annexation. Jordan's foreign ministry says it's a flagrant breach of international law and an undermining of the two-state solution. The White House has warned that President Trump has clearly stated that he does not support Israel annexing the West Bank. But here's the view from Israel. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich has threatened that Israel will continue to kill the idea of a Palestinian state. Ehud Olmert is the former Israeli Prime Minister who served from 2006 to 2009, and he joins us live from Dubai. Mr. Olmert, thank you for joining us. What's your take on these moves by the Israeli cabinet?
I'm very much against it. I oppose to the policy of the attempt of the government and senior members of the cabinet, particularly the most important allies of the Israeli Prime Minister, the messianic group of thugs, which are now part of the cabinet, to try and force out Palestinians from the West Bank and take over completely in order to annex the territories. I'm against it. I'm fighting against it. I think the majority of Israelis are against it, and we are absolutely unhappy, to put it mildly, with the recent resolutions by the Israeli cabinet. And we'll have to augment our forces in order to oppose it within the current political battle going on in the country.
Mr. Olmert, you've described it before in another outlet, that, and I quote you, this is something that comes close to an attempt to make ethnic cleansing. Do you stand by that?
I think that I just wrote an article in Haaretz, which I'm sure you had a chance to read, in which I say that what the hilltop youth are doing in the territories, attacking on a daily basis people in the West Bank who are entirely not involved, burning their olive groves, destroying their properties, breaking into the houses, and sometimes being very physical and even shooting and killing people, is totally unacceptable and intolerable. And this is something which certainly shows an attempt to create an ethnic cleansing in the West Bank, with the purpose, of course, of clearing the territory so that the eventual annexation will be easier and simpler.
I mean, you've described some of the settler action as in the past as being essentially war crimes. Now, this continues, so didn't it really just almost legitimize what they've been doing illegally?
Nothing can legitimize the use of force against innocent people by people living in the territories. Without accepting necessarily the figures that you have presented before about how many people were killed, I don't know, and I'm not certain that this is the exact number, maybe less. But it doesn't matter. There are vicious, criminal, violent, obnoxious actions taken by the settlers, by not all of the settlers, part of the settlers, and the Israeli police and the Israeli army seem not to face it adequately in order to try and stop it. And that means that the government of Israel and the prime minister and the ministers in the cabinet seem to be in line with this, and there is no other way but to blame them for being responsible for allowing these atrocious youth to carry out what appears to look like an ethnic cleansing.
Now, the other aspect to all this is also perhaps the timing. What do you make of the timing of this as world attention is on these talks taking place between Tehran and Washington?
I think that the timing can be interpreted in slightly different direction, not necessarily in relation to the talks with Iran. I think that the partners of the Prime Minister in the cabinet are quite unhappy with the agreement about the Gaza ceasefire, the 20 points, which mean that presently already Palestinian Authority seems to be, which I think is the right move, myself I think is the right thing, are taking over the control over the Rafah pass and the other aspects of the 20 points the peace plan by President Trump are totally unacceptable to the partners of Netanyahu in order to somehow appease them, in order to try and get them to continue their participation in the cabinet, which is essential for him having a majority. He is doing things in the West Bank, which is, I think, responding to their desires and demands, and that is somehow to balance in order to keep them on.
I mean, this has wider implications. Certainly, you may have this tenuous ceasefire on Gaza, and you've got what's happened now with these security arrangements and this agreement by the cabinet. What does this actually really represent for any pathway to Palestinian statehood, with people such as Smotrich saying that the idea of a two-state solution and a Palestinian state is buried effectively?
Well, as I said, I keep saying, I think, for a long time, also in some of your programs, is that this government is not good for Israel, and that we have to get rid of this government of Israel as soon as possible. I think they're trying to prevent any possible comprehensive political solution over the West Bank. And the only possible solution is a two-state solution, which I advocate, which I proposed, by the way, to the Palestinian president in 2008, and which I have restated together with Dr. Nasser al-Qudwa, former foreign minister of the Palestinian Authority, just slightly more than a year ago, advocating a two-state solution. This is the only possible way to resolve the historic conflict. It is difficult, it is complex, it is sensitive, it is uncertain, but if we will not make an effort to move forward towards this, nothing will be resolved in the territories. The first step is the ceasefire in Gaza. Ceasefire in Gaza has to be established on a basis that will allow it to become a permanent order, with a security force that will completely control the military situation in Gaza, and a government of technocrats which will resume the civilian leadership, which is essentially acutely needed now in Gaza. If that will happen, and the ceasefire will be stabilized in Gaza, and Israel will move out back into the line where from the war in the 7th of October started, then this is the first step. The second step is a negotiating process over the West Bank. In order to make a negotiating process in the West Bank, of course, we have to leave the West Bank available for a potential political agreement with Israeli withdrawal from 95.5% of the territories within the framework of an agreement, which I have proposed in the past and which I still think is the only possible solution. That's what we need to do. Nothing other than this will lead us into anywhere. And those who are anxious to continue the present status quo and perhaps even worsen it for the Palestinians are the messianic groups of the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister seems to be subject to their discipline rather than to his own leadership.
Mr. Olmert, thank you so much. Ehud Olmert, the former Israeli Prime Minister.
Thank you.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news, expert insight. Like, share, stay ahead.